This happened a few months ago. I had just started my seasonal job as a park ranger in the Appalachian Mountains. I wasn't completely new to this because I had some experience in the outdoors. After my father's passing, I thought this might help me find some peace. My cabin sat alone near a trailhead, and the quiet felt comforting at first. My first night, I remember sitting at the small table with my logbook. The only noise was the occasional rustle of leaves. I felt tired after the long drive. Then I saw flickering lights through the trees. I thought it might be campers and dismissed it, but throughout the week, the nights became unsettling. Whispers echoed through the trees, soft and distant, as if they were calling my name. I shivered. I didn't think much of it at first, just nighttime sounds in the woods. But those sounds grew louder and seemed more urgent. As I hiked my usual trails, I started finding strange symbols carved into the trees. They looked like nothing I had ever seen before, almost like a warning. I felt uneasy, like someone was watching me. One night I heard knocking on my cabin door. I froze. My heart was racing. I opened the door and nobody was there. Just the dim light of the moon illuminating the empty path. I sometimes noticed items by my door, a small stone, a twig, something that felt wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just my mind playing tricks. Yet, the sensation of being watched deepened. One night I stood in front of my cabin, the air thick with silence. I heard whispers again, clearer this time. They wrapped around me, coaxing me into the shadows of the trees. I felt a pull, a kind of dread, but also curiosity. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. Then, I saw a figure, just standing there, staring back at me. I asked if they were okay, hoping it was just a lost hiker, but they didn't answer. They just looked at me, eyes deep and empty. I felt coldness creep into my bones. I took a step back, and they vanished into the darkness. Confused, I turned around to find the path behind me empty and still. I stumbled, scrambling backward away from the shadows. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know what to do. I don't know what I saw, or if it was real, but sometimes I think those whispers still call for me. I feel like they want something. Maybe they want me to join them. It's been haunting me ever since. The mountains have a way of keeping secrets, and I think I'm one of them now. The next day, I woke up feeling the weight of last night pressing on my chest. I barely slept. The figure haunted my thoughts. I tried to go about my duties, checking the trails and maintaining the park. But everything felt different. The trees loomed taller, shadows deeper. I could almost hear the whispers again, teasing at the edges of my mind. When I returned to the cabin for lunch, I noticed something near the door. It was a small, smooth stone, perfectly round. It didn't belong to the area. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. My skin prickled. I couldn't shake the feeling it was a message, or worse, a warning. Later that day, while hiking a less frequented trail, I stopped to inspect one of the symbols I had seen before. It was carved deep into the bark of an ancient oak tree, an unsettling design I could almost recognize but couldn't place. I traced my fingers over it. Suddenly a rustle nearby pulled my attention. My heart raced. I turned, expecting a deer or something, but the only thing in sight was a thick bramble. Then I heard it. Whispers, sharper this time and closer than before. Panic gripped me. I couldn't make out words, but the urgency was undeniable. I felt a tingle of dread wash over me. I didn't want to ignore the call, but I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just the wind, just the trees. As I continued down the trail, I stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a pile of stones, arranged into a careful formation. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, drawn in like a moth to a flame. As I knelt to inspect them, I saw smaller stones surrounding the pile, each one carefully placed. This was no random structure. That's when I saw it, an object half buried in the dirt at the base of the stones. It was a locket. I hesitated before reaching for it, instinctively looking around for any signs of movement. When my fingers brushed against the smooth metal, chills ran up my spine. I flipped it open. Inside was a faded photograph of a woman, her expression serene yet haunting. Beneath the image was a name I didn't recognize. I closed the locket quickly, a sense of urgency flooding me. I felt eyes on me. Was someone watching me? The air grew colder, and the whispers thickened, almost forming words. I bolted back towards the trail I came from, panic setting in. But as I turned to retrace my steps, I noticed a figure standing at the edge of the clearing. It looked familiar, yet wrong. The air froze around me. The figure wore a long, flowing dress, the same one as the woman in the locket. I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. I wanted to scream, but no sound escaped. Then, without thinking, I turned and ran, the whispers spiraling into a cacophony behind me. I didn't stop until I reached my cabin, slamming the door shut. But in the silence that followed, something felt off. Someone, or something, was still out there. I could feel it, and I knew, deep down, this was only the beginning. The next morning I hesitated getting out of bed. The whispers from the previous day echoed in my mind like a ringing bell, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The locket lay beside me, the woman's haunting gaze still etched in my thoughts. Who was she? Why was she here? I decided, against my better judgment, that I needed answers. I made my way back to the clearing, my heart pounding with each step. The trees closed in around me, their branches whispering softly, almost playfully, as if taunting me. When I reached the site, my stomach twisted at the sight of the stone pile. It looked unchanged, but I couldn't shake the impression that something had shifted overnight. I crouched down, brushing away the dirt where I had found the locket. As I did, my fingers unearthed a second object, a tiny, worn diary. My pulse quickened. I opened it carefully, the pages brittle and yellowed. The handwriting was neat but shaky. It detailed a woman's life, her joy and excitement as she explored the forest. It was filled with sketches, vibrant drawings of the animals and plants she encountered. But as I flipped through the pages, the entries turned darker, filled with jumbled thoughts and fear. The last entry sent a chill down my spine. I can feel her presence. It's watching me. I don't think I can stay here much longer. Suddenly, I heard a soft rustle behind me. I whipped around, my heart racing. There was nothing there, just the shadows lengthening in the tree line. I thought of the figure I had seen, the woman in the dress. Could she be tied to this diary? I felt sick. I needed to leave the clearing and get back to the safety of my cabin. But the whispers wrapped around me again, enticing me to linger. A chill ran through the air, and I felt a sudden drop in temperature. The whispering morphed into coherent voices, calling out a name that felt familiar yet distant. Elena. Then I saw her. The woman from the locket standing at the edge of the clearing, her long hair swayed, and the dress gently moved with the breeze. It felt like a dream and a nightmare at once. I wanted to approach her, to ask who she was, but my instinct screamed at me to run. As I backed away slowly, the whispers escalated, fluttering around me like angry insects. I turned and ran again, only stopping when I reached the cabin. The door slammed shut behind me, and I leaned against it, breathless. I glanced back at the diary lying on the table, its pages still open, demanding my attention. I needed to know more. But before I could reach for it, a loud knock echoed from the door, jolting me. Someone was outside. My pulse quickened. I peeked through the window, and my breath caught in my throat. The woman was still there, staring back at me with an intense gaze. I never felt more trapped. I couldn't ignore her any longer, but part of me wanted to. I took a deep breath, and as I opened the door, every instinct screamed that this moment would change everything. As soon as I opened the door, the woman stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. I could see her more clearly now, the delicate features of her face, the sadness in her eyes. "Please," she whispered, her voice soft yet urgent. "I need your help." Fear twisted in my stomach, but curiosity won. Help? With what? The question slipped out before I could filter it. "I can't stay here," she said, glancing nervously toward the trees. "They are watching me." I looked behind her, then quickly back to her. "Who is watching you?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "You've seen the clearing. You found my diary." Her voice trembled slightly. "I need you to understand. If they find you with it, they won't let you go." The diary. It felt heavy in my mind, that last entry ringing clearer now. I thought about what she'd written, about being watched. An icy shiver ran down my spine. "What do you mean? Who are they?" "The spirits. They are connected to the forest. They protect it against intruders. But you are not like them." The way she spoke made the hair on my arms stand up. I swept a glance around the yard, half expecting to see something lurking in the shadows. "I don't understand. I just came to find out what happened to you." Her eyes widened, and she took a step back. "I'm already trapped here. I don't want you to end up like me." A sudden rush of wind passed between us, carrying whispers that chanted a name. "Elena. Elena." I felt a surge of panic. "What do you mean you're trapped? How do I help you? Can you leave?" She shook her head, her shoulders sagging. "I'm not the only one. There are others like me. If we don't connect, we are forced to live in this space, forever linked to the forest." Every word she spoke felt like a jolt of reality striking me. "Others? What do you mean?" But before she could answer, the wind picked up, swirling around us with an electric charge. The air felt thick, almost tangible, as the whispers grew louder. "Elena, come back." The woman's face went pale. "I have to go now. I'll be back," she said, her voice rising above the noise of the wind. Without waiting for my response, she turned and vanished deep into the trees. Left standing in the doorway, I felt both relieved and terrified. What had just happened? My mind raced as I closed the door and locked it tight. I glanced at the diary lying on the table, still beckoning to me. That's when I noticed it, something gleaming beneath the pages. I reached for it, heart pounding. It was another locket, but this one was tarnished and old, the image within it barely recognizable. As I held it up, a flash of realization hit me. This wasn't just some random discovery, this was connected to her. And maybe it was connected to me, too. I needed answers fast. But then I heard a distinct sound just outside the cabin, the creaking of the floorboards. Someone was definitely in the house. I held my breath, straining to listen. The creaking continued, echoing through the quiet cabin like a warning. My heart raced. Was it the woman? Had she returned? Or was it something worse? I moved quietly toward the source of the sound, creeping down the dimly lit hallway. My legs felt heavy, every step a reminder of the fear pooling in my stomach. The locket slipped through my fingers, clattering against the wooden floor. I snatched it up again, clutching it tight. Just as I reached the corner leading to the living room, the noise stopped. Silence stretched out, thick and suffocating. I hesitated, glancing at the door, half expecting it to swing open. My mind filled with worst-case scenarios, each more terrifying than the last. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught movement. A shadow flickered across the window. Maybe it was the wind, or maybe... I leaned closer to the glass, peering out into the darkness. The trees loomed, their branches swaying like twisting fingers. I could see nothing but the faint outline of the forest. But the feeling of being watched clung to me, an uncomfortable shiver crawling up my spine. I backed away from the window, my heart racing again. I had to know who or what was in the house. I reached for the door to the living room and turned the knob slowly, cringing as it creaked open. The room was empty, but it felt alive, buzzing with a strange energy that made my skin prickle. I scanned the space. Everything looked just as I'd left it. The worn couch, the bookshelf crammed with old books, and the faint outline of the fireplace. But I noticed something different. A piece of paper lay on the coffee table, stark against the wood. It hadn't been there before. My pulse quickened as I strode across the room. I snatched the paper and unfolded it. The note was hastily scrawled, the handwriting shaky and uneven. Don't trust her. Find the truth before it's too late. The urgency of the words struck me like a bolt of lightning. Who had left this? Was it a warning or a trap? Before I could process any of it, a sudden crash echoed through the cabin. My heart jumped, and I whirled around, eyes wide with terror. The sound came from the back door this time. I could feel a chill settle over the room, like the air had thickened into something heavy and ominous. I had to know what was out there, but the thought of facing whatever that was made my knees weak. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. The whispers from the trees flooded back to me, echoing Elena's urgency. They were watching. Those spirits of the forest were real, and they were close. With shaky hands, I moved toward the door. I had to open it. I had to see what lay beyond, even if it terrified me. The note crumpled in my grip as I reached for the latch. Suddenly, the handle rattled violently from the outside. A voice called out, low and melodic, "Let me in, please." I froze, the words sending a mix of dread and hope through me. Was it her? Was I about to find out the truth? The moment felt suspended in time as I wrestled with the decision to trust the voice or to turn away and hide. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the handle. The voice lingered in the air, echoing with a haunting familiarity. I couldn't remember ever feeling this torn. I felt like I was on the edge of something that could change everything. "Please." The voice pleaded again. It felt both enticing and terrifying. Swallowing hard, I took a shaky breath and finally turned the latch. The door creaked open, revealing the darkness beyond. But it wasn't the woman standing there. Instead, a wild gust of wind rushed in, carrying with it a stench of decay and damp earth. I winced, stepping back as I peered into the shadows. "Who is it?" I called out, my voice trembling. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. It was slim but tall, a silhouette against the moonlit trees. I squinted, trying to discern any details. Was it her or something else entirely? The figure remained still, the features obscured, but I felt their gaze locking onto mine. "Please," they repeated, urgency thick in their tone. "You have to listen. We don't have much time." I pushed the door wider, curiosity battling with uncertainty. "What do you mean? Who are you?" The figure hesitated, then took a cautious step closer. "I'm not your enemy. I'm here to warn you. They've been watching for days. The spirits. They know you're here." My mind raced. The spirits. Was this some kind of trick? "Why should I believe you?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. The last thing I wanted was to be lured into another trap. "I know about the locket," the figure said quietly, their eyes narrowing. "I know what it means to you, and I know why she's come back." Every instinct urged me to shut the door, but my heart sank. The locket. Elena. I had no idea how this person knew about them, but my gut told me they were connected in some way. Suddenly another crash echoed from behind me, this time more intense. I spun around, the shadows in the living room seeming to deepen, pressing me from all sides. "What was that?" I whispered, fear creeping back in. "Not now," the figure urged. "Listen to me. We need to go. Now. Go? I echoed. Go where? What about? The house isn't safe. Their voice was urgent, breaking through my paralysis. I took a step back, conflicted. Part of me wanted to bolt, to escape the cabin and whatever lay waiting in the dark, but I couldn't abandon the search for the truth. Before I could decide, a shrill scream erupted from outside the window. I turned just in time to see something dart behind the trees. It was swift, too quick to actually see, but the terror it instilled was palpable. Now, the figure said, their voice sharp. They're here. They'll come for you. With no time to think, I stepped outside into the night. A cold breeze whipped at my skin as I faced the unknown. My heart raced as I turned to the figure. What do you know? And just like that, standing on the threshold of darkness, the truth loomed, shrouded in chaos. Whatever awaited me out there might change everything or end it all. The moment I stepped outside, the chill in the air wrapped around me. The figure moved forward, urgency etched in their features. Follow me. We need to get away from here. I hesitated, but the noise behind me, a rustling, then another crash, propelled me into action. I took a breath and ran after them, my feet hitting the uneven ground. The trees loomed, their dark silhouettes stretching under the moonlight. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice barely breaking through the sounds of the night. "What do you know about Elena?" "Not here," they said, glancing back at me with keen eyes that sparkled like stones against the dim light. "We need to reach the clearing. It's safer." Every instinct told me to turn back, to find somewhere familiar, but the urgency in their tone pushed me forward. I followed as they wove through the trees, my heart racing with every snap of a twig. I could feel shadows closing in, not just from the trees but from my own mind. The fear was real, and it threatened to engulf me. After what felt like an eternity, we finally reached a small clearing bathed in pale moonlight. My companions stopped, hands on their knees, panting. "We're safe here, for now." I fell back, catching my breath. "Now tell me what's going on. Who are the spirits, and how do you know about the locket?" "Call me Marnie," they said, voice steadying. "I've been tracking the spirits for years. They're drawn to the locket and they want it back. It belongs to them, and they'll do anything to retrieve it." A cold dread settled in my stomach. "How do you know about the locket?" "I knew Elena," Marnie replied. We were connected. The locket wasn't just a trinket. It holds a power, a gateway to the other side." "Connected?" I felt my head spinning. "Elena never mentioned you." "Of course not. She was trying to protect you, but her actions have awakened something much worse." Marnie's eyes widened with urgency. "You must understand. They can sense your fear, your confusion. They will come for you." Before I could respond, an unearthly wail echoed through the trees, sending a wave of chills down my spine. I looked around, my gaze darting to the shadows, searching for the source of the sound. My heart sank as I realized we weren't alone anymore. "Stay close!" Marnie shouted, taking a step back into the trees. "Whatever you do, don't look directly at them." "What do you mean?" I stammered, panic threading through my words. "Who is them?" But Marnie was already moving, leading me further into the underbrush. I could hear them breathing, feel their presence closing in like a thick fog. My mind raced. The spirits were real. They were no longer just stories. "Whatever happens, don't lose the locket," Marnie instructed, looking back at me with fierce intensity. "It's your only protection." I glanced down at the pendant resting against my chest. Its cool metal felt like a lifeline. Then everything changed. A flicker of movement caught my eye, something darting through the trees. My breath hitched. A dark figure emerged from the shadows, humanoid yet wrong in every way. My body froze, fear wrapping around me. That was when I heard it, the whispering voices calling my name from deep within the woods. I stumbled backward, and just like that, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the clearing. Instead, I found myself in a thick fog, shadows swirling around me. Panic squeezed my chest. I called out for Marnie, my voice breaking as I tried to shout over the oppressive silence. Suddenly, a flash of light cut through the fog. I squinted, heart beating hard, and stumbled toward it. The closer I got, the more I could see. Figures moved just outside my vision, blurred forms that seemed to watch me. A moment of clarity flickered in my mind. The locket. I clutched it tighter as if its weight could anchor me. "Step into the light," a voice called, low and guttural. It didn't sound like Marnie. "We know you have what we seek." I hesitated, rooted in place. I could almost see the silhouette of a person, or was it something else? Then, without warning, the fog rushed around me, suffocating. I was enveloped in darkness again. "Elena," I whispered, my voice trembling with raw fear. But the only response was another wailing sound that made the hair on my arm stand up. "I need to find her." A sudden surge of determination pushed through my fear. I could not just wait here, trapped in this nightmare. I turned in the direction of the light again, forcing myself to move. Each step felt heavy, as though the air itself wanted to hold me down. As I moved forward, I felt warmth, an almost electric charge, the locket pulsing against my chest. The fog began to lift, revealing a crumbling stone wall behind which a massive tree stood, its branches twisted and gnarled, but impossibly alive. This wasn't just any tree. It felt ancient, like it held stories untold. "Do you see it?" The voice hissed again. "Bring it to us." I staggered as the fog retreated fully, revealing the figures standing behind the tree. They were now clearer, their faces contorted in expressions of longing and rage. I inhaled sharply. These were the spirits Marnie warned me about, their skin a sickly pale and their eyes haunting voids. "You belong with us," one said, stepping forward, the others flanking her. I'd barely caught my breath when Marnie's voice broke through my thoughts. "Run! They'll trick you!" I turned, scanning the area for her. The shadows moved closer, tightening around me. I could see the path back, more defined now, but the spirit's whispers clawed at my mind, filling me with doubt. "Stay," they urged sweetly, the tone suddenly shifting from menacing to almost seducing. "We won't hurt you. We only want the locket." My instincts screamed at me to escape, but part of me hesitated. A morbid curiosity was surfacing. Maybe they could lead me to Elena. With every ounce of willpower, I took a cautious step back toward the wall. I could feel their presence growing. The air buzzed with a powerful energy. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught movement on the path leading out. There she was, Marnie. She was rushing toward me, desperation etched on her face. "Don't listen to them. Get the locket and run." Confusion rippled through me as I weighed my choices. Did I trust Marnie? Could I really abandon the spirit's promise? Before I could find an answer, a gust of wind roared past, bringing with it the overwhelming stench of decay. "Now!" Marnie shouted again, urgency thick in her voice. I made my choice, but before I could turn to flee, the darkness closed in again. I squeezed my eyes shut and held the locket tightly, praying it would guide me out. That's when everything shifted. I fell to the ground, and suddenly I was no longer alone. Someone grabbed my shoulder, their grip fierce and unyielding. My breath caught in my throat, and when I turned, all I saw was a pair of eyes glowing in the darkness. "Join us," they whispered. I jolted awake, gasping for air, my heart pounding in my chest. The darkness faded slowly, revealing the stone wall and tree that had been mere shadows moments before. But I was no longer alone. Figures loomed closer, their faces unreadable, a mix of allure and terror. "I won't join you," I shouted, my voice rising over the oppressive silence. I stumbled backward, adrenaline surging through me. The tree's gnarled branches swayed, almost as if warning me. "We only want the locket," one spirit crooned, her voice smooth like silk. "It holds secrets. It can set you free." "Free?" I repeated, skepticism creeping in. How could they know about the locket? I gripped it tightly, feeling its warmth beneath my fingers. "What do you want with it?" "Step closer and we'll show you," another spirit hissed. Fear gripped me, knotting my stomach. "No." I turned to run, but something cold wrapped around my ankle, tugging me back. I stumbled and fell to the ground with a thud. I could feel icy tendrils wrapping tighter. "Don't fight it!" The first spirit half laughed, half sneered. "You're meant to be one of us." In the distance, I heard Marnie's voice echoing, barely audible but clear enough to push through the haze of fear. "Elena is in danger. You have to escape." Instinct kicked in, and I struggled against the grip that held me. I kicked out, my foot connecting with something solid. The spirit screeched, and the grip loosened just enough for me to scramble back, breathing raggedly. "You can't leave," they wailed, their voices drowning in a crescendo of fury. My hands fumbling against the stone wall, I searched for a way out. The locket pulsed again, and a memory burst into my mind. Elena in the clearing, staring at the locket with wide eyes. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the memory to guide me. "Help me find Elena," I cried out, and as if the words summoned something, the fog began to shift again. Shadows danced, warping into shapes of what I hoped was a path. "Stay!" the spirits cried, their voices splintering like glass. "You are ours!" But I dashed toward the figures moving through the fog. The path grew clearer with each breath. I could see a faint outline of a figure. It was Marnie. She was beckoning, eyes wide with urgency. "Marnie, I'm coming!" I shouted, panic and determination driving me forward. Just as I reached her, the fog thickened again, pressing down with a weight that crushed my spirit. The ground beneath me felt unstable, shifting as if the earth itself wanted to swallow me whole. "Marnie!" I cried, but the sound disappeared into the mist, leaving me stranded in a dark stretch. I felt the locket whirl in my hands. Its energy was vibrant, almost desperate. And then, everything went dark. "Are you still there?" A voice broke through, sounding familiar yet distant. I strained to listen, not ready to yield to despair just yet. "I am here," I whispered. "Then we are not done," it said. And just like that, the fog began to part again, not revealing Marnie or the spirits, but a glimpse of something else. Something that made my breath catch in my throat. A door swung open, spilling light and shadows onto the forest floor. I took a step backward, confusion swirling with growing dread. What was waiting behind that door? The light from the door beckoned me like a lighthouse through the fog. But as I stood there, hesitation gripped me. Was it a way to safety, or another trap? Just as I contemplated my options, I felt an icy breath against my neck. "Don't go through!" the spirits wailed, a chorus of desperate voices that filled the air around me. "You'll regret it." With a determined resolve, I stepped closer to the door, grasping the locket tightly. It pulsed in my palm, reminding me of Elena's urgency. There was a softness in the weight, as though it held something more than just its physical form, more than a connection to the past. The truth lies within. The figure of Marnie materialized beside me, her expression filled with equal parts anxiety and hope. "We need to know what's inside. What if it's just another lie?" My voice trembled with doubt. The spirits were growing restless, rattling through the trees, their whispers crawling under my skin. "They want to keep you lost. You can't let them win." Marnie's eyes bore into mine with a fierce determination. "You have power over them." I glanced back at the door, light flickering from within, shadows flickering like flames behind a lantern. A sudden thought surged through me. What if I found Elena inside? Maybe the door would lead to her salvation. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. A blinding light washed over me, and I found myself in a vast clearing, vibrant and alive, golden sunlight streaming down. Emerging from the glow were images, flickering like memories playing out in front of my eyes. "Elena!" I called, desperate for a glimpse of her. The images shifted and swayed, encapsulating scenes of laughter, warmth, and the joy of days spent in the forest. But they twisted into shadows, fear mingling with happiness. "No, this isn't how it should be," I cried, the pull of the whispers urging me to step back. "You can't hold me here." But the spirits grew louder, overwhelming my senses, their intentions unclear. Were they trying to protect me or draw me in? Marnie moved closer, her presence reassuring. "Focus. Remember why you're here." With that thought anchored in my heart, I held the locket tighter, closing my eyes. I concentrated on the essence of it, the bond connecting me to Elena. In that moment, a surge of warmth flooded through me, rising against the cold. The light from the doorway flickered, and the scenes morphed into an image of Elena, the clarity sharp and real. She was standing in the woods, a look of sorrow etched on her features. "Help me!" she shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos like a beacon. "Elena," I lunged toward her, the weight of the world resting on my shoulders. "I'm coming." I stepped further into the light, feeling the ground steadier beneath me. The cold around me receded, and with a furious burst of determination, I pried the locket open. In an instant, the bright light erupted from within, enveloping me and the clearing. The spirits shrieked, their forms writhing in the brilliance. I could feel their anger, but more than that, I felt their desperation. The light pushed back against them, illuminating the truth hidden in their whispers, the stories of lives lost and pain encaged. They weren't merely haunting the woods, they were echoes of love, grief, and longing. "No more!" I shouted, my voice rising over the chaos. "You can be free." Suddenly, the whirlwind of light grew, expanding outward until it engulfed the spirits, the echoes swirling with their cries. And then, silence. I blinked, the forest still vibrating with energy, but the weight of the shadows began to lift. The veil of darkness peeled away, and when the light settled, the clearing transformed, bright, vibrant, and alive. The spirits were gone, released back into the fabric of the forest. Gasping, I turned to Marnie, who stood by my side, her expression shifting from fear to relief. "You did it. You freed them." "But what of Elena?" I breathed, scanning the clearing frantically for her elusive figure. Was it over? Would she return? The sudden rustle of leaves caught my attention, and then, against the backdrop of the blooming forest, she appeared. Elena stood there, radiant and vivid, as if she had stepped out of the memories brought forth by the locket. "Elena!" My heart soared as I rushed toward her. "You're okay, I thought I lost you." She smiled, the sorrow in her eyes replaced with something ethereal. "You didn't lose me. You found me." But just as those words settled, an unknown stillness replaced the clearing's vibrancy. Questions spun through my mind, tethered by the fading echoes of what I had just experienced. Did I truly release the spirits? Was Elena bound to me, or was she just a memory? "I have to go," she said softly. Towering shadows lingering at the edges of the trees, creeping back almost as if to reclaim what they had lost. "But remember, the forest remains, and so do its stories." Her form shimmered, a fleeting embrace of light and warmth before she dissolved into the air like mist. Alone once more, I gripped the locket tightly, understanding its weight. But the ambivalence of my experience hung heavy. Maybe freedom existed within the stories we carried, or maybe the mysteries of the forest would forever beckon to me. I took a deep breath, glancing back at the path leading out of the clearing. I stood at the edge of both worlds, uncertain yet steadfast, knowing I would never fully escape the shadows, but hopeful in the light that emerged from within. As I stepped back onto the trail, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Sometimes the lingering questions were what kept us grounded, reminding us that even in uncertainty, the whispers of the past are never truly lost.